Oh yeah. This feels so lovely, don't you agree? Yeah. Yeah, this feel like a world tour. Play this on my world tour. I'm going on a world tour. Yeah, this feel like a world tour. Play this on my world tour. I ain't had a world tour. Yeah. This feel like a world tour. Play this on my world tour. Going on a world tour. Yeah, this feel like a world tour. Play this on my world tour. I ain't had a world tour.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the latest edition of the No Hesi Fruitcast. Before we get started, I, J.R. Schwab, have a quick disclaimer for tonight's episode. It's just Summer League. Let's slow the roll a little bit.
See, why are you starting off with a negative attitude?
I'm a negative type of a person. I thrive on the negativity. But before we get on to that, we're going to bring you guys a great Summer League recap tonight. We're also going to get into some free agency signings, and there was a couple of big trades that happened this offseason that I think we definitely do take a look at. But let's just get it out of the way. Are you guys happy with the Summer League?
Yeah, well, let me introduce myself. First of all.
Go right ahead.
It's MVP.
That's kind of rude not to introduce
right?
your...
You know what?
Where are your manners?
Schwab is the only one that counts.
Listen, I'm wearing the GOAT jersey. I count. What's up, y'all? It's your boy MVP, repping Ball Gang. You know what it is. Hashtag LeVar's eldest on my body.
What's good, internet world? I am Black Moses, and I'm ready to talk some hoop, man. I'm ready to get into it.
Before we get to both y'all boy Lonzo Ball, there was a couple big trades that went down. We had the first one that started off was Chris Paul to the Houston Rockets. I don't think any of us expected it. I certainly didn't, and I'm not sure what kind of impact it's going to have on this Rockets team yet.
I think that, you know, anytime you're able to add another All-Star, another future Hall of Famer to your roster, I don't think it's gonna impact them in a negative way. I think what we really should be looking at though is how Coach D'Antoni will be able to manage both those superstars in the same system. And I think that's where the onus will be is, you know, where is D'Antoni's game plan going to benefit both their skill sets and help the team win? Because, I mean, that's why they got Chris Paul, so that they can win, right?
And MVP, you made a point earlier about Chris Paul being able to play off the ball, and he hasn't really done that before, which could be interesting because we've only seen him as that primary ball handler and not really that scorer or shooter role that we know that he can handle.
Yes, I think Chris Paul is a very capable scorer. He hasn't showed it much, and that's not to my liking because I've always thought he should have averaged more points for that Los Angeles team to make it where they were allegedly, a
contender.
They were more like a contender. On paper it looks like they're in the mix, but when you watch them play, not so much. I feel like Chris Paul should average like 21 and 10 in order for them to get where they were supposed to go. But everything else aside, I think it's a good move. You add a guy who can put up 20 points a game easily if he wants to. I feel like he'll be motivated a lot more. I am curious to see how this works with D'Antoni, though, because he is a fast-paced guy. Chris Paul has been known to pound the ball. And so now this is going to be a whole new flavor for both of them.
Chris Paul is good in the open court, but he's even better in the half court when he can run the pick and roll. He can throw the lob, he can get the pass out to the three-point shooter. We've seen him do that for years now. So like you said, it's definitely going to be interesting if he can thrive in that Mike D'Antoni system alongside James Harden.
And what do they do with the rest of that roster? I mean, they still got some work to do to fill that thing out. They were hoping to get Melo over there.
Do you really think Melo's going to make a difference on this team?
Well,
to me, Melo is almost washed up at this point. He's still.
Well, I'm not going to let you. I'm not going to
but-
let you slander that man.
goodness.
Look,
I won't let you do that.
When was the last time?
If he's if you're saying he's on the decline, I'll give you that. But washed up.
When was the last time he did anything significant?
Last year, he had a pretty stellar year considering.
And Knicks got what, 12th place in the East?
That's on him.
Look, Melo's not
You're the leader of that team.
Melo's not the guy who's gonna lead you to a winning record. If you got guys who are already in play in an offense that runs its course, you add Melo in there. Now you just basically got a firepower boost to that. He could put up 25 points a game easily.
Melo's a pure scorer.
Pure scorer from all three levels: 3-point, in the lane, in the post. Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about, Swab.
We're getting away from this right now.
You're getting away.
That's all right.
With murder.
What else is new? Second trade we had go down. We had a little bit of a shocker. I think everybody thought Paul George was going to get traded to the Celtics or the Lakers or the Cavs. And all of a sudden, Sam Presti out of nowhere pretty much highway robs the Pacers of Paul George, even though he's only going to be there for 1 year. But still, I think they made out great in that trade. And we got Paul George with Russell Goatbrook in OKC right now. Thoughts?
This is my most intriguing move of the offseason, simply because, I mean, this is something that we had joked around about previous to this happening, but I never really expected that to be where he landed. And now that he is there, especially being with Russell Goatbrook, who is also an LA native, I think that they're thinking they can make this work almost like a Russ KD 2.0 type of situation here, with a more easily coachable version of the KD spot.
A beta alpha to Russ's alpha beta.
Well, Russ has no beta in that bloodstream whatsoever.
Alpha.
I like it. I like the move. I think that was a gutsy move by Presti. I think he's been an incredible GM since I can remember, honestly. But pulling this off, this is probably the trade of the decade, honestly. To be able to get Paul George for Victor Oladipo,
and Sabonis.
I don't want to call it trade of the decade, only because Paul George is still an expiring contract, and you still got to re-sign that boy, which I'm not saying they're going to have a problem re-signing him if they don't have a good year, but you could easily see Paul George walk after this year.
Well, when's the last time we've seen a player of that caliber go to a team that just had the MVP? I don't remember. Now, this is the
Warriors.
thing. That wasn't a trade.
That was
Schwab.
a free agency move.
Listen, see,
Schwab, you're not on top of your game right
He
now.
didn't say trade. He just said go to a team.
I said trade of the century. Trade of the
But
decade.
you said a person go to a team.
Oh, Schwab, don't try to backtrack now.
I'm not backtracking on nothing.
Put your Michael Jackson down. Listen, anyway, I like it. I still think they're gonna take an L at some point in the playoffs. It would be disappointing in like the second round, but hey, they're gonna lose to the Warriors at some point, and it's not gonna be in 5 or 6 games. It's gonna be in like 4.
Is this a no Hesi prediction,
And
or are you just?
I think
They
I'm
ain't
going there.
played each other
I
yet.
think I'm
Because
going
right
there.
now you're sounding like you need some. I'm gonna let you get this out now. But I
Please.
think you're forcing this narrative on the no Hesi community.
Well,
and I'm
hey.
not really appreciating this right
Well,
now.
hey, listen, if you're offended by my narrative, then it says more about you than us.
Is this more of a preemptive
So
narrative?
anyway, and Laker Nation will feel me on this. I feel like they're going to lose in the playoffs prematurely. Russell Westbrook and Paul George are both going to become free agents and go play for Magic Johnson with Lonzo Ball. And that's the first time we've said the name of this episode, and you will not get enough.
Schwab said over under 5 times. Lonzo Ball is thrown in there for no apparent reason. That is number 1 right there. Let's bookmark it. 9 minutes, 35 seconds in.
Lonzo Ball.
That was 1. So we got one last trade to talk about this offseason, and it was more of a stunner. Tom Thibodeau gets his boy back, gets the band back together in Minnesota, trades for Jimmy Buckets, gives up a couple young pieces of Chicago and a draft pick. We're going to talk about it in a minute, but might as well get right into it. Timberwolves won the offseason with this trade and their free agency signings?
I think that they immediately boosted their stock. You know, they went from not making the playoffs to now we're talking top 5 seeding in the West. And as tough as the West is right now, I think they're set up, you know, what we're doing is we're trying to say it's Golden State and who else. So they immediately put their name in that hat, but I still don't know if they have enough to beat Golden State.
They don't have enough, but it still looks good. It still looks fun. I like Wiggins and Butler on the wings. I think that's pretty aggressive. And then they got Karl Anthony Towns. I think the pressure's on him. You know, because he's the guy who, you know, they say is the leader of the franchise. He's the guy who has a lot of the pressure on him. So I feel like if he doesn't do, he's got to be the one to take them to the next level.
But what has he shown that would give you an impression that that's not
that he can average 20 points a game in his first 2 seasons and 10 rebounds a game?
Well, I mean, he's already on track to. I mean,
What's to say he's not going to be doing that though?
Well, I think now it's got to go up to, like, you know, he's got to look like a winner now.
Well, I mean, that's it's a team game though at this point. You know what I mean? Like, he can only do so much by himself. I think that what he's shown so far hasn't given me any impression that he's not going to progress going into this season.
I didn't say he wasn't. I said the pressure's on him because it's his team still.
I say the pressure's on Jimmy Butler.
See, I'm going to disagree with both of you because I think it's more on Andrew Wiggins than anything else.
Why would it be on Andrew Wiggins?
Andrew Wiggins, to me, and I think I said this to MVP the other day, Andrew Wiggins is a lot like Jimmy Butler. He's they're a lot of the same player, but Andrew Wiggins now has to be your knockdown shooter for your squad. He took a lot of 3-pointers last year. He's trying to get that stroke right. He has to be your knockdown shooter. They don't have anybody else on this team. Jimmy Butler makes 3-point shots. He can shoot those 3-point shots, but that's not his forte, not his game, is to make those 3-point shots. Andrew Wiggins, to me, has got to step it up and be able to make those buckets when Karl Anthony Towns or Jimmy Butler kicks the ball out to him and expects him to make that shot.
See what you guys are trying to do, or not you guys, you, Schwab, are trying to dosify this man's role into being a contained knockdown shooter, when in reality he's more similar to a Paul George or a Kevin Durant. You just need him to get buckets.
But there's not enough ball to go around. There's not enough Lonzo Ball to go around for something like that.
Andrew Wiggins can get buckets from any position now. So it's really just a matter of getting him the ball and letting him do his thing.
I never said he couldn't, but I'm saying is they still need a shooter, and he is now that designated shooter.
He's
because
not. That's
Jimmy
not
Butler
what he is,
that ball hog.
That's not what he is, though.
They're going to try and force him in that lane.
This is all hearsay and notions, though.
Anyways, moving on. Along with that trade for Jimmy Butler, the Timberwolves also picked up Taj Gibson and I almost called him Marquise Teague. I almost called him his brother's name, Jeff Teague. That's how much.
Shout out to Marquise.
That's how highly I think of Jeff Teague. I talk about his washed-up brother instead of him.
Shout out to Marquise Teague.
Jeff Teague and Taj Gibson get signed by Tom Thibodeau. They've got a solid young starting lineup now.
They also added Jamal Crawford.
They have a 6 guy. They have 6 solid players.
They have a certified 6 guy
for their lineup. They can definitely make some noise, I feel like, in the Western Conference this year.
Did they sign Shabazz Muhammad, or did they let that man go?
They let him go. He's still a free agent. Nobody wants him.
Who's gonna sign that boy?
China.
Yo, shout out to Shabazz Muhammad. Man.
Shout out to Dude Sufaka.
Real quick, I want to get a winner and loser from you guys. But let's do players, since the players are the ones signing these contracts.
Winner and loser.
Give me a winner. Give me a winner of the free agency. A player.
I'd have to say I'd go with Tim Hardaway Jr. I mean, you could have polled every GM in the NBA before this offseason, and none of them would have told you that Tim Hardaway Jr. would be sitting pretty in New York City with $71 million for 4 years. I didn't see that coming. I mean, he had the second half of the season last year. He definitely came on, and even into the playoffs, he showed that he is a formidable player in this league. But I mean, before that, the narrative was, should he be in Istanbul? So for the fact that he's making 71 M's for 4 years, I say he's winning.
And for
And
those,
shout out to Tim Hardaway.
for those of you who don't know, the Knicks drafted Tim Hardaway, traded that man because they didn't want to pay him, then gave him an enormous contract offer a year and a half after they traded him away, which makes no sense. So I don't know. I'm not going to slight Tim Hardaway by any means because that man finessed the Knicks out of a contract, but I'm giving Knicks loss for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
MVP, you got a winner of free agency?
I do. I've got a winner. My winner of free agency is going to be none other than the infamous Swaggy P. For him to be in Byron Scott's doghouse just a year or two ago, and then to have the situation with D'Angelo Russell, to lose his wife, and then to come back as Luke Walton kind of helped him reacclimate himself into the league, and now to have a contract with Golden State and be on have a guest verse on a chip tape. I think he pretty much won this this go round.
Yeah, all he has to do is just score now at this point, right?
He doesn't have to do that
and commit to defense.
All he's got to do is do 3-point signals after he shoots. I think he's good to go. So Swaggy P is my winner and free agency. The bag was small, but the ring will be heavy.
Oh yeah,
That's very true. Very true. Schwab's winner in free agency. I'm just gonna make this short and sweet and quick. Schwab did a little tiny boo boo, tiny boo boo. But Jonathan Simmons, you're my winner of the free agency.
Schwab, can you explain what you mean by boo boo?
Let's just say semantics got in the way and some hearsay of contract offers and winning titles, which is what matters. But let's move on from there.
So the No Hesi community knows what we're talking about. Schwab has this running narrative about Orlando and Jonathan Simmons deciding to go there over staying with San Antonio when Orlando offered him a substantially larger amount of money to come to their franchise. But we'll save that for.
Yet technically, we don't really know what the offer was going to be.
Yeah,
from
Schwab.
the Spurs.
I think the main narrative in all this is that you seem to forget that Jonathan Simmons walked into the gym in San Antonio from the street, and now he's got a hefty bag from Orlando, which you hated on.
I did, but I'm giving that boy his props,
You are.
and we're gonna keep it moving.
All right.
All right.
You boys got a loser of free agency? Anybody who lost hard, whether
Yes.
that's a place they went to, the type of contract they signed, or the amount.
I've got a loser, and it's not about where he went to. It's about where he hasn't gone, and that would be Derrick Rose. I love Derrick. He was one of my favorite players at one point, but this guy has not signed a contract yet. He went and met with Milwaukee. Turns out they don't want him. He's went and met with LA to be Lonzo's backup, a guy who hasn't played an NBA minute. Turns out that's not panning out.
Former MVP backing up a rookie.
And now he's in talks with Cleveland. I'm pretty sure he'll get the vet minimum. They're already $26 million over the cap. And Derrick Rose just made a comment 2 off seasons ago about how he was preparing for this free agency so he could take care of PJ. Well, here you go, Derrick. Take care of him.
Black Moses, who's your loser of free agency?
I am gonna go with Kyle Lowry. He opted out of the contract to play the field, which generally is a smart idea when you are a all-star level player. You want to see what you can get out there. Well, I mean, it wasn't much, clearly, because he came running right back to Toronto after everyone got snatched up off the free agency market. I mean, I feel like his asking price was just too much for teams to cash out for, considering the fact that he shrinks in the playoffs every year. So, in my humblest opinion, I think Kyle Lowry lost. And if you guys disagree with that, please hit the comments and let me know if I'm saying anything wrong.
Listen, Kyle, if you can't be with the one you love the one you're with.
And I think him and DeRozan, they have
deserve each other.
They have a chemistry together.
You can say that.
They're still gonna lose to Cleveland in the playoffs, but
They're perpetual losers together.
Yeah, that's their chemistry.
Yeah.
They bring up the L chart.
they lose well together.
Schwab's gonna stay in the Eastern Conference with his loser of free agency, and it's not anybody that signed a contract or even was a free agent this year. LeBron James is my loser free agency simply because of all the Kyrie Irving hoopla talk got going on right now, and the fact that the Cleveland LeBrons did not get anybody to help LeBron out or help this squad beat the Golden State Warriors. LeBron's a loser in my book, and it may not be because of him per se, but deep down, it's because of him and what he does per se.
And Lambo coming for his head.
That's true.
I still don't know who that
Lambo.
is. I saw you guys talking about that.
I heard
That's
Lambo's
his
got
step
enough
pop.
dirt to bury that man.
Gosh.
That's LeBron's step pop.
Listen, the league is changing. Lonzo Ball is changing the narrative on so many levels. Shout out to Lambo.
You know what? Let's just get into this right now since Lonzo was mentioned for the third time off topic tonight. Summer League.
Hey.
And this year, Schwab hates to admit it, even though he got to bask in the glories and the fruits of the loins of the Summer League Championship a few years ago with the Sacramento Kings. This year's champion is none other than the Los Angeles Lakers. And they also swept the awards banquet show, whatever you want to call it. Lonzo Ball gets the MVP of the overall Summer League, and Kyle Kuzma is the title game MVP. Now, I said my disclaimer at the beginning of the show, but I got to bring this up again. Does any of this even matter?
Listen.
It's Summer League. They're playing against nobodies. My team played against a bunch of nobodies. 95% of the guys out there, I've never even heard their names before.
Hey, Black. It sure
Going on,
mattered
MVP.
when the Sacramento Kings won it.
Right.
Don't, no Hesi community. If you weren't keeping up with our old selves, to be clear, this never happened. Schwab didn't come out and profess that we were the all-knowing that season for winning the Summer League championship.
Well, you guys didn't have a transcendent talent like Lonzo Ball either.
You guys were playing with a bunch of second-year guys that, were coming off of their rookie campaigns that kind of already knew how to play.
You guys
in
were
this league.
playing with 25-year-olds from overseas.
There seems to be a few minutes of every podcast or every hoopcast that we do where Schwab just likes to check out, and we'll let you guys talk about the Lakers or talk about whatever you want. But I'm going to give you guys the floor right now. Get your Lonzo ballness out right now.
Listen. You can say what you want about Summer League, and it is. I mean, let's be honest here. It is Summer League. They're not playing against NBA level talent. They're not going up against the guys they're probably going to see night in and night out. A lot of these guys probably are going to be in the G League at some point. But I mean, we all have to admit that there was a buzz around this Summer League, not just because of Lonzo Ball and the Lake Show, but that was a big part of it. But I think this as a whole, this draft class, it seems like a special draft class. A lot of players in the lotto were garnering a lot of attention. We wanted to watch them. It just so happened that out of all of those guys, Lonzo Ball shined. I don't know how you feel about the MVP, but I was thoroughly impressed, especially after the narrative changed after his first game, right, where he didn't really have the best showing, and we were ready to kill that man off because we don't like his pops.
Right. I mean, true. There's a lot of really good rookies in this draft. This is probably the best draft class since 2003. And it seems like, aside from there being like a LeBron James or a Dwayne Wade, it's probably even better than that because it's deeper than that.
Right.
But, I mean, let's not fool ourselves. Everybody came out to see Lonzo Ball. They wanted to see what the hype was. They wanted to see what LeVar has been yapping about. And now LeVar gets to say, I told you so.
LeVar Ball looks like Steve Jobs right now.
LeVar Ball won. LeVar said Lonzo had his worst game ever in that first Summer League game, and they lost by 3 points. So
and he didn't look back.
That tells you something. He comes out the next game, gets a triple-double, comes out the next game, drops 36 in front of LeBron. He was 2 rebounds away from a triple-double that game. He had 4 games with 10-plus assists. He would have had he had 2 triple-doubles, and there's never been one in Summer League. He would have had another one if he didn't have calf tightness against he was dominating Dennis Smith, by the way. I mean, Lonzo Ball is like he's a ZO2. He's a Corvette. He's a ZO2. This guy is a transcendental player. I mean, I've been raving about Alonzo for a while, and I'm not going to stop. I mean, he's clearly the best player in this draft. He clearly makes his teammates better, and you saw that. He instantly – how you change the culture of an NBA team in Summer League?
I will say this. Aside from his individual stats, the focus for him seemed to be winning games, and that's one thing that I liked from hearing his post-game interviews. It seems like he doesn't really care about stats, even though those are, I mean, he clearly can get those. Yeah. But he's more concerned about getting W's. And when you look at it in that bubble, in that vacuum, the fact that we won says a lot. I mean, Absolutely. He set out there to win, and that's what we did. So, and shout out to Kyle Kuzma as well, because he also showed me, I am thoroughly impressed by what he could do out there.
Schwab wants to interject real quick to say something about Lonzo Ball. I hate on the boy just because of other reasons, but the one thing I will give him, and he showcased it again in Summer League, I don't like saying this, but it's the darn truth. Lonzo Ball's top 5 passer in the NBA right now as it stands. And he hasn't even played an NBA game yet. But some of these passes he was throwing with Brick Hands McGee G League players playing with him. and he's dropping dimes in their lap from 75 feet around the back through the lane that I didn't even see that lane. And I got an overhead view of the court going on right there. So I will give Lonzo his props. On the other hand, Kyle Kuzma was a boy that I knew out of Utah. I'd seen him in a couple games in the Pac-12 tourney this year, and I thought he was going to be solid, but he really impressed me in this Summer League, and goes to show with the title game. He ended up winning MVP of the title game without Lonzo having – he didn't play most of the game. Did he play the game at all? He didn't play the game at all. So Kuzma was the boy on that team besides – Black Moses' other boy, Vander Blue, but that's a topic for another story.
Lonzo Ball made Vander Blue look like Kyrie Irving.
Let's not slight Vander Blue. The man was the G League MVP last year, D League MVP last year, but that's not saying much. So
how Lonzo Ball, Vander Blue is passing the ball in Summer League. Now, if you all have watched any Vander Blue throughout the G League season, that guy's a chucker. I mean, he can't wait to put up a shot. And Lonzo Ball had him passing the ball like Elfrid Payton. Lonzo Ball also made Kyle Kuzma look like Carmelo Anthony. Kyle Kuzma shot 48% from 3 throughout the whole Summer League.
The three-point shot definitely was a great treat to see.
Now, Kyle Kuzma, he looked great. He played great. I even made a thread on BX, Julius Randle's replacement. Now, that's a joke, but it's a serious joke. But when you play with a guy like Lonzo Ball, he kind of puts you in a place, gets you the ball in a place where you're just ready to catch it in rhythm, at a speed where you could comfortably get your form off. And Kyle Kuzma took advantage of that. I give all the props to Lonzo Ball.
Looking forward, though, I will say that I'll be interested to see how he adjusts to playing against, I mean, in that position, every night you're going against somebody that could do work against you. So I'll be interested to see how he handles, staring down some of his idols, I'm sure. So, that'll be interesting to see. And it'll be also, on a side note, seeing Brandon Ingram in the first game, the way he played, I'll definitely be looking to see him kind of step up his production this year as well.
All right, I've given you guys enough time on the Lakers. We're gonna move on.
And another
from
thing
this
about
right.
Lonzo.
Yeah, there's 4 right there.
I feel really good about Lonzo.
There's 5. So Schwab wins that bet. The man that was drafted after Lonzo Ball, Jason Tatum.
Who?
That's 6. Jason Tatum for the Boston Celtics. More than any other player, I think, besides Lonzo Ball, Jason Tatum looked the most. Okay, maybe that's not different, but he looked the most complete player out there. He was scoring, he was dishing, he was driving, he was playing solid defense in a little bit. I saw him and Jaylen Brown were locking guys down in this summer league. But I thought Jason Tatum did very well, and for being a Duke product, he impressed me this summer league.
Tatum looked very comfortable. He didn't look like he was rushed or forced at all. His jump shot was money. I saw him hit a game winner his first night out in isolation as well. So Jason Tatum's got all the tools, all the chops. He kind of reminds me of like Paul Pierce, but with a better body though. So he's not the quickest guy. He's very smooth though, and he just needs a little bit of space to get that shot off. I think Jason Tatum's going to be a stud. He'll, in 2 years he could be better than Gordon Hayward.
I got a T-Mac vibe from him. Very sneaky and subtle with the movements, but he gets space enough to get his shot off or get in the lane for like an athletic finish. He's not the most athletic guy, which I think is going to hurt him on defense more so than anything. But as far as looking at his skill set and being able to say he'll be a player in this league, I'll go ahead and say he'll be a player in this league. I think he has a very bright future.
Has he started to change your perception, Black Moses, on Duke players? Is
Well,
the real question.
I think more than anything, it's the amount of time you spend at Duke. If you're staying more than a year, you're going to come out docified. If you're a one and done, you might be able to avoid that neuterment from Coach K.
Listen, if for the No Hesi community, Black Mo has a theory that when you go play at Duke, you get neutered by Coach K to fit in his system, and you come into the league as a eunuch.
Hey, I appreciate the use of that word. No, but yeah, I believe that Coach K his number one concern is winning NCAA titles. And when that's the case, you're not necessarily trying to develop these guys into NBA players. Whereas you look at Kentucky, even though they're successful every year in the tournament, it seems like he's also, Coach Cal, is also trying to help develop these guys into, NBA products. And I feel like if you don't have that mentality as a coach in the one and done era, to me, you're doing the players a disservice. Now, mind you, Brandon Ingram and Jason Tatum can be a part of the change in that narrative. But as of right now, I mean, we can go back and we can look at receipts and most of the guys come in and they're role players.
From the Battiers to the Dings to the Reddicks.
They come in as role players.
To Elton Brand.
Right. I mean, Kyrie, he didn't even really play for him, so that's a completely different topic. But, I mean, we'll see.
He escaped with jewels in tow.
11 games gets you that number one pick.
And you keep your phallus.
Another guy that thrived in Summer League, kind of shot up draft boards, was the Utah Jazz shooting guard Donovan Mitchell. All Schwab really knows about him. He plays great defense. He's athletic. He gets to the ball. He hounds the ball. Wasn't too sure about offensive game, but he clearly showed a little bit of offensive game this Summer League. MVP?
I love him.
You rocking with Donovan Mitchell?
I loved him. He's got a very strong body. He's kind of like one of those combo off guards, but he can play the one for little spurts of time if you need him to. I love him. I didn't know he was going to come out playing defense like that. But Donovan Mitchell, his shot was money off the dribble. He was making big shots, taking big shots. He played with great energy. So I'm thinking that Utah basically will kind of make up for a little bit of that scoring that Gordon Hayward took when he left. And also, who knows what he'll look like in 3 years. So I'm loving that pick. And that's definitely a surprise to see what Donovan Mitchell did in Summer League.
The last guy on our list is a kind of an unknown. Not unknown. He's actually number one or two rated high school player coming out of high school. And Caleb Swanigan out of Purdue played out for the Portland Trailblazers. Played in that title game against the Lakers, and actually was playing very well. We didn't need to throw that in, but thank you. Played very well in that title game. I always thought he was going to be a lumbering big man that big man is just being phased out of the game. It seems like these days you need your big man to be more athletic. You don't really need those turnaround hook shots and all that back to the basket game. Seems to be dying off. So this is kind of refreshing to see he did so well for Portland in these games. That's just my take though.
He's got a big body. Used to be a little chubby boy back in the day, kind of slimmed down, got into some semblance of shape. But he seems like he's just nothing but hard work. He's one of those guys that he might lack in the athletic department, but what he gives in effort kind of makes up for that. But I like the kid, and he seems like he does have somewhat of a face-up game as well. You know, he could build off of. So I think in this new NBA, you need that guy, that utility knife that you could put out there and just say, hey, just go out there and give me effort.
And that attitude fits in perfectly with what the Blazers have going on right now with Dame and CJ. They're those hard workers. They're going to go out there and play and give it their all every single time.
And let's be clear. He wasn't a little out of shape. He was fat.
He was pretty
he was a big boy. Yeah. He was a big boy. Now, he lost a lot of weight. He was also homeless at a point in time, too. I think he might have even been with like a foster family, too. So he's got a really tough story.
Word.
He's got a lot of heart, to come from where he came from to be where he's at. And you know who he reminds me of? Zebo. He's got a little bit of Zebo to him, and I really like that. So I'm looking forward to watching him progress and, make his stamp on the league.
With all upside that we talk about and all these great performances we've seen, there's always that downside. And there was two names that got brought up for our losers of the summer league, or guys that we thought disappointed us, didn't show us enough. And Schwab agrees with both of MVP and Black Moses' players, so I'm just going to let you guys take it. MVP.
I heard Black mention it, and I was completely disappointed by lackluster Zach Collins. I mean, that guy looked out of place. He looked like he just couldn't keep up. Wasn't strong enough. You could just tell he was just frustrated within himself. So Zach Collins, I'm hoping you kind of pick it up in preseason, but right now you look like you definitely should have stayed in college.
Caleb Swanigan should have been drafted by the Blazers where Zach Collins was drafted.
I can see that. Good thing the Kings traded that pick, right?
I'm very glad the Kings traded that pick if that was the case. Black Moses, this is more interesting loser of the Summer League pick, but also something I agree with because he didn't show us anything, even though everyone said he showed us so much.
Listen, Markelle Fultz was the number 1 pick in the draft this year, which means that you expect him to garner that same buzz that Alonzo Ball garnered. And now he got hurt, which is something that does happen. It was a freak accident. But I'm more so disappointed in the fact that even when he was on the court, he didn't captivate me like that. He didn't show me that, you know what, he's undoubtedly the first pick in the draft, especially coming from Washington where they didn't do anything out there. So it's like I'm still trying to figure out like where this narrative is coming from as far as him being like undoubtedly the number 1 pick in the draft. But as for now, I say I'm disappointed in the process. I guess you could say as a whole. I don't know if I can trust the process. I'll say that.
Disappointed processes.
Yeah, the process is very disappointing so far.
Man, that's very interesting, Black, because Markelle Fultz, the consensus number 1 how do you say
consensus?
There we go. Number 1 pick. And I agree. I mean, I can name 3 guys who looked a lot better than him, and he was the number 1 pick. I guess I'll wait to see what he does during the regular season, but I'm kind of over these chucking guards. You know what I mean? Like, Lonzo's really changing the narrative with his guard work.
I'm going to stop you there with number 7. But speaking of chucking guards, Schwab forgot. Schwab's loser of Summer League. We haven't talked about the Kings yet. Mr. Buddy Hield, Chuck God. And except for that last maybe 8 to 12 minutes of the last game you played in Summer League, you looked terrible. He looked awful. He was rushing everything. The only thing I'll give him, because we lambasted him last year for it, was his handle. His handle looked a little bit better. He was bringing the ball up the floor for the Kings when they didn't have a point guard for a while because both De'Aaron Fox and Frank Mason ended up getting hurt. So Buddy brought the ball up a couple times, but the shots were killing me. I've never been a big Buddy fan to begin with, but at the same time, this is your second year in the league. You are the starting 2 guard. You played very well to end the year last year, and then you put up this goose egg looking performance in Summer League. I'm a little worried right now.
Now, mind you, I am a fan of Buddy Hield's. I liked him since he was at Oklahoma, and I think that he can still be a good player in the league. I think part of it though too is, I mean, we have to realize he didn't look comfortable, and he didn't look like he had already been in the league for a season. But he's also playing with rookie guards. And it's hard to, I mean, as if you're playing with a rookie point guard who's still trying to figure out the game himself, he's probably not hitting them in the right spots just yet.
I mean,
and that's no slight at all.
But we've just seen other rookie guards hitting guys in the perfect spots.
Yeah, well, we're talking about Lonzo Ball, though. I mean, listen,
I wasn't even talking about him either.
Buddy Hield came back doing the very thing that Kings fan did not want him to do: put the ball on the floor.
It's not that I didn't want him to do that. I wanted to see a progression, which I did see a progression. He looked more comfortable handling the ball. Do I want him bringing the ball up the court, playing the 50% of the time? Heck no.
Let's be very clear. He's not taking anyone off the dribble.
No. He's slower than
It's strictly him putting the ball on the floor should be strictly to create space. But like you said, I mean, I'm just surprised that his shot's not falling, because it looks like he's. I mean, yeah, he was rushing a few of those shots, but even when he has space, he's not knocking that down. It's like that's what he's there for. That's what he was scouted to be. Why is his shot not falling? And I don't have answers for that.
I think Buddy, I think he kind of has like that Steph Curry thing where, like, because he does shoot the ball very well, and he's got a really nice form as well. But it's almost like you shoot the ball so well, sometimes you come out and like you underestimate like what the shot is going to be, what your form is, just because you don't feel like going all the way through it. I feel like Buddy was trying to be cute. And that's why he was missing a lot of shots. The shot looked horrible. But I feel like, once he buckles down, training camp comes, he tightens up, Bucky will be just fine.
I think this is one of those situations where, like you said at the beginning of the episode, Schwab, it's only summer league. Let's not jump out the window just yet.
Unless
good or bad.
I totally understand that. But to me, a second-year player who has played with some legit NBA players should look a lot better than what he did.
I agree. I feel like all second-year guys coming into summer league should have a level of comfortability that should be noticeable.
Like Brandon Ingram.
Yeah.
How does Scal look?
That's still
his latter games. His latter games were better than his first. Couple.
Somebody made a comment. Scal seems to be one of those players where he knows the spots that he has to be in, or the other teammates have to be in, and so he looked worse in summer league because these young players don't know where. Kind of what you would say, they don't know where to get him the ball.
They don't know where these said spots are.
Yeah, yet. And I think I don't. It sounds like excuses to me. I've never been a huge Scal fan. I like him. He's got a great game, but at the same time, nothing impressed me. I'll wait till the season starts, because from what everything the Kings are saying and all the fans, Scal is the real deal. I'm not there yet in my fandom, but convince me otherwise.
Hey, you better hope he is.
All right, now I've got to interject. Kurt DeGod, winner of Summer League. Who do you have as your winner of Summer League? Oh, yeah.
Dennis Smith Jr.?
Dennis Smith Jr. definitely balled out in this summer league. I think behind Lonzo, he's definitely number 2 on that list of players that showed us something, or that at least turned our heads a little bit, and everyone wondered why he got drafted at 10 or at 9 instead of at 3 or 4 or 5.
Absolutely. He's fitting somewhere either in front of or right behind Jason Tatum.
The Knicks are kicking themselves in the butt right now for not taking that man with their pick.
Hey, but you know what? It's middle of July. Summer's still going strong. Free agency's still with it. We just got told that Derrick Rose is still on the market. So if the Knicks want to go out and get a solid backup point guard to Frank Nicotina, by all means, the ex MVP is out there.
Yeah, they can go get they can re-sign their Dennis Smith Jr. Their over athletic point guard who chucks and tore an ACL early.
As I said, it's the middle of July. Season is quickly approaching. I think training camp is in
September.
September? Early September, training camp starts. Preseason is right after. Actually, I think training camp is end of August this year because the season actually was
starts
moved
earlier
up
this year.
to October 17th. The season starts
I'm
this
loving
year.
that.
Yeah, so we're gonna have all 4 major sports going at one time this year, which is the first time it's happened in a while. Other than that, though, like I said, we have the training camps coming up late August. We have preseason right after that in September. Season starts October 17th, so we're quickly, rapidly approaching. Real quick, before we end this beautiful second episode of No Hesi Hoopcast, is there anything either of you are looking forward to in the next few months before we get to preseason, before we get to preseason and training camp? Is there anything you're looking forward to, free agency wise, news wise, anything like that?
Absolutely. There's 2 things I'm looking forward to. Who will be Lonzo Ball's backup, and also when Nike will officially release the jerseys for sale so I can buy my Lonzo Ball jersey. Those are too many things for me.
Black Moses?
I'm be interested to see what happens in Cleveland. I think that situation, like let's say Kyrie doesn't get traded, like what's that looking like on the court now? You know, how does that affect what they do in their system, whatever that system, in the LeBron system that is in place there? So I don't know. I'll be interested to see what happens there, and you know, just looking at these rookies, seeing how they develop this year.
Let's be very clear. Whether Kyrie leaves or not, the East is run through Boston this year.
Come on, man.
In the regular season.
No Hesi Hoopcast prediction.
I'll say this.
Boston 1 seed again.
To play on your Kyrie Irving subject.
Just for them to lose again.
Black, to play on your Kyrie Irving subject, if Kyrie Irving does not get traded and he does hang around, I feel like we're going to see a whole different animal this season. I don't think he's going to be deferring to Bron at all. I think the love is lost.
That just plays into Schwab's narrative that the Cavs won't be that good because they can't thrive when LeBron is not running the show.
We don't know that.
I can't say
We've
that.
seen that.
We don't know that. I feel like Kyrie Irving, if he steps up his aggression, then Bron has to then change the way he plays, which he could play up.
Well, one of Kyrie's knocks is his decision making. Like there's been situations in the past, even recently in the finals, where, you know, instead of making the easy play, he'll force a handle and chuck up something silly. So
Right.
I don't know how Kyrie, because that's what he wants, right? He wants to be the number 1 guy.
Right.
I don't know what that team looks like with Kyrie as that guy, whatever that team may be. I do know that in order to win, you're gonna need LeBron, and you're gonna need LeBron happy. But I say, man, you know, trade Kyrie Irving to the New York Knicks for Carmelo Anthony. Have Kyrie become the face of the New York franchise. It'll make the fans happy. It'll sell tickets, even though they may only win 30-something games this year. At least it'll kind of give them something to cheer for, and then give Bron, give Carmelo an opportunity to play with his banana boat, bro.
Well, also, this just in, I did see a report today coming out of Phoenix. Eric Bledsoe said he is happy playing in Phoenix. However, he does want to win now.
And like what I see when I read that, I was
about
like,
Eric
what does that
Bledsoe?
mean?
Well, check this out. Imagine a scenario. I'm kind of forming a narrative in my mind. It's still premature at this point, but say if Eric Bledsoe is represented by Rich Paul.
Right.
Now, say Cleveland does decide to trade Kyrie Irving for Eric Bledsoe and another piece, and now you got Kyrie Irving in Phoenix and Eric Bledsoe, you know, playing with Bron, and then they can still make a move for someone else.
Who's running the point?
Eric Bledsoe. Well, Bron would be the point.
In
That would be Kyrie Irving's job. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't trust that. I think that
that's neutering your boy Devin Booker.
When you have a budding star in Devin Booker, you almost need somebody. You almost need Alonzo Ball.
I'm gonna stop it right there.
Look, everybody can't get one of those.
J.R. Schwab's gonna post a question to the No Hesi Hoopcast community. I want you to comment in the section below. If Kyrie stays on the Cavs this year, should he take a more aggressive approach, or should he keep deferring and let LeBron shoulder the heavy load? Let us know in the comments below. MVP, final words?
Lonzo Ball.
And I know Black Moses is going to give me the same thing for those final words.
I'm not going to do that. Hey, peace, love, hair grease, and all of those things.
As you all know, Schwab don't do social media, so Twitter handle?
At Black X Moses and you can follow me for my funny takes.
And my handle is MVP at MVP No Hesi, and the takes are hilarious.
J.R. Schwab don't do social media. You ain't gonna find me on that internet. You can catch me right here, right now. For Black Moses, MVP, Kurt DeGod running all our wires and big control center. I'm J.R. Schwab. Later.
Yeah, this feel like a world tour. Play this on my world tour. I ain't had a world tour. Yeah, pull up to the crib, no hesitation. I'm perfect from the line, no hesitation. So I'ma knock him down, no hesitation. And eat that pussy on the table, no reservations. Elevating, we celebrating.